So we all know that the Instagram algorithm wants to keep people on Instagram for as long as they possibly can. That is how Instagram makes their money. The longer people spend on the platform, the more ads they can show, meaning the more they can charge their advertisers. So how does the algorithm gauge whether a piece of content is doing well and that it's keeping people on the platform and therefore it should push it out to a wider audience? Well, it looks at the engagement rate of the post. It looks into the likes, the comments, the shares, and the saves. So in today's video, I'm going to be teaching you how you can get more comments on your Instagram posts. Hi guys, my name is Ethan Bridge. I'm host of the Social Media Marketing School podcast and the guy behind the Instagram page at The Marketing Ethan. Today, I'm going to be teaching you how to get more comments on your Instagram posts. Why? Because it's part of the algorithm's analysis process as to gauging whether a piece of content is doing well or not. If a piece of content is doing well, it's going to push it to a wider audience because it's keeping people on the platform. If a piece of content is keeping people on the platform, that means Instagram can show that viewer more ads. More ads means more money for Instagram. So it's going to look at your likes, comments, shares, and saves. Now I've done other episodes in the past where I've spoken about other engagement metrics, and today I'm going to be teaching you how to get more comments on your posts. So without any further ado, let's just dive straight into the first tip. So tip number 1, you need to have a clear call to action. If you aren't asking people to comment or to mention something or to highlight something, then they're not going to. Why on earth would someone go out of their way to provide some extra value if you don't actually ask them to in the first place? Obviously, you're going to have people that do, but it's much more likely to happen if you have a call to action and you ask them to do so. For example, perfect place to put it, if you make a carousel post on the final slide, so slide 1 is obviously going to be your headline, then slides 2 to 9, your value, and then the final slide, have a call to action. Ask a question. Say, comment your thoughts. That is your call to action. You're telling people to comment. If you're telling people to comment, they are much more likely to comment. If you're creating a single image post or a video, have that call to action in your caption. Write out your caption and then the final line, comment your thoughts. If you ask people to comment, trust me, they are much more likely to. But this is something that a lot of people don't do. They completely ignore the fact they need a call to action. And then they don't get many comments and they go, okay, why on earth did that happen? Well, it's because you didn't ask. If you don't ask people to comment, if you don't have a call to action, they most likely aren't going to. So tip number 1, have a call to action on your post. Tip number 2, ask a question. This is something I do on every single post I create. Whether that be in the caption, like I mentioned for a video or a single image, or a carousel on the final slide. It's an alternative to a call to action, but I also have a call to action and the question. So at the end, for example, I'll ask a question that relates to the piece of content that I have just posted. So for example, I'm going to use the topic of this episode. I would ask the question, how do you encourage comments on your posts? And then I'll write underneath that, comment below. So I've asked them a question. I've already given them an idea of what they need to comment. It's not like they're having to pick something out the air or come up with their own ideas to comment. I'm giving them a conversation starter to get them going. I'm basically serving them on a plate what they need to comment about. And because I've also then put comment below, they know that they need to comment opposed to sending me a DM or reaching out to me elsewhere. So they will then comment what they do to encourage more comments. It's such a simple way of doing it. But people don't do this. You'll be surprised. I've come across people saying, why don't I get comments? And I go, well, are you asking people to comment? Are you asking them a question? Are you giving them that conversation starter to get the ball rolling? And they go, well, no. And I go, well, there you go then. Start off by doing this. These are my 2 favourite ways to actually get more comments and get those comments in the first place. So as I mentioned, have number 1, that call to action. But start the conversation so you eliminate the need for people to think about what they need to comment. You're giving them that starter, you're letting them know, say, hey, comment about this. Tell me what you think. Why did you enjoy this post? What was your favourite part about this post? What are your personal experiences? These are all question examples that you can use to get the conversation started. If you don't do this, people are much less likely to comment. So ask a question and tell them they need to comment. So moving on to tip number 3, and this is actually to just make your content interesting, unique, and thought-provoking. If your content isn't any of these, it's not going to perform well in the first place. If people don't actually enjoy consuming your content, then they're never even going to get to the point where you mention the question or the call to action, and therefore they're never actually going to comment in the first place. You want people to consume all of your content. If they're not consuming all of your content, then they're not consuming the value and they're not really engaging with your content whatsoever. But if your content is interesting, it's valuable, it's unique, it's different from everyone else's, it's not something they've come across in their day, it's not something they've seen 100 times before, it's something interesting and makes them think, oh, that's actually a really good idea, I'm going to use that, I'm going to implement that into my strategy. That makes them much more thankful for the fact that they have just consumed your piece of content, and then they're much more likely to tell you that. If it's something they've never heard of before, it's likely they'll comment, oh my god, I've never actually heard of this before, it's a fantastic idea, thank you so much for this, I'm going to implement it into my strategy. I get a lot of comments like this, and I'm really grateful for this kind of comment. Even though they aren't necessarily responding to the question I've asked, I know for a fact from this comment that the piece of content I have just posted has been really worthwhile to my audience. It's something new that they haven't seen before, and it's something that they can then go and implement into their own strategies and benefit from. So you need to just be making sure that the content you are actually producing is interesting enough for people to start engaging with or just consuming in the first place. Because if it's not interesting, they're never going to consume it. If they don't consume it, then they're never going to engage. So make sure that your content is interesting, it's thought-provoking, and it's unique. It's simple. So moving on to my next tip, and this is one I also love. This really, really boosts the amount of comments you get on your post. So you've already got those initial comments, you've asked them the question, you've told them to comment, your content's unique, so there's people engaging anyway. So you've got that first comment from the individual. But now you're not going to just respond to these comments and go, oh great, thank you for your comment, that was awesome. Because then that's just conversation over. They aren't going to come back. That's it. It's dead. The conversation's done. You haven't tried to extend that conversation to the next step. So if someone goes, oh, this was a brilliant piece of content, I didn't know about this before, so I'm definitely going to implement it into my strategy, rather than going, that's great, good luck, go, oh, that's brilliant, how are you going to implement this into your strategy? What do you do? Is there anything I can do to help you further and actually integrate this into what you're doing? Or if your post has had multiple different points in it, yet they've still just sort of gone, this was a great post, I didn't know about many of these. You could go, okay, thank you so much. What point was actually your favorite? That gets them to come back again. So now you have turned that one comment into 3 because they've commented, you've commented, and they're going to comment again. But then you can go again. They're going to come back and say, oh, I do this, I'm going to implement it this way. Or X was my favourite point about this post. And then you can go back again. Try to keep the conversation rolling. Don't just have it to the fact where you cut it off and say thank you, or you respond with a thumbs up emoji. That kills the conversation. To succeed on social media, you have to be social. Start conversations with individuals in your comments. You may even get other people coming in from other places and responding to these commenters. So you've pretty much then got a conversation between 3 or 4 people. You may not have to have any input whatsoever, and these people are going to talk among themselves. If you start a conversation, it's likely people will want to get involved, they want to add their 2 cents. So do not close a conversation as soon as someone comments. Always try and open it up to other opinions or add further value to then get that person to come back. Because not only is that getting more comments on your post, it's highlighting to the algorithm that people are spending more time on your post. People are coming back onto the platform because of your piece of content. And that is exactly what the algorithm wants to do with the users of Instagram. It wants to keep people coming back on the platform and keep them on there for as long as possible. So if your content is having people staying on the platform because they're having a conversation, or they keep coming back onto Instagram to respond to comments within your post, this is exactly what the Instagram algorithm wants to do. So if it sees that your post is doing this, it's going to push it to a wider audience. You're going to rank on the explore page, you're going to rank in hashtags. Your page may then begin to even rank in the suggested for you tab because it knows your content is doing this on a regular basis. So it wants more people to follow you and know about who you are as a creator. It goes full circle. So this is one of the key things that has really helped some of my pieces of content actually go viral. Rather than just closing a conversation after the first comment, open it up. Encourage more comments, encourage that conversation to continue so that you can keep people coming back, which is going to highlight to the algorithm that people are spending more time on the platform, which can help make your piece of content go viral. So moving on to tip number 5. Now this is one you might not want to implement depending on what niche you're in, but it's to post a piece of content on a controversial topic. And I don't mean controversial as in something that's going to offend someone. I mean something that just goes against the norm. So for example, in social media marketing, if there's a bunch of people that use a certain technique, but you've tried and tested something that's the complete opposite of that no one really tries, but you've tried it and it's worked for you, tell people about that. Because that's going to make people go, okay, I've always thought this is the case, but now this person's come along and said, I should be doing the complete opposite. It's going to shock them. They're going to think, why on earth is that person doing that when I've always been told to do it this way? That's the type of controversy I'm encouraging, not something that's going to offend someone. That's the wrong type of controversy. You never want to do that. That will destroy your brand. I'm telling you to go against the norm, against a certain strategy someone uses, or a myth that has always been thought to be true, but you've found out that that myth is actually false, and then you're explaining people as to why this is the case. When there is controversy and something that goes against the norm, people get involved. They have their own opinions. And when people have opinions, people argue with those opinions. And this is just human nature. Everyone is pretty opinionated, and especially on social media, people aren't afraid to bite back at specific comments and give their own point of view or their own experiences or what they've thought was right and why they thought it was right. And then when you get people talking about different people's opinions, they're going to keep going. They're going to keep up the conversation. They're going to keep people coming back. They're going to argue with each other. Not necessarily argue, but just go against each other to try and win the conversation. So post something about controversy and you will get a ton of people comment. Granted, they may not all agree with you, but that's okay because you have tried and tested it and it works for you. They might try and test it and it doesn't work for them, but certain strategies work for some people and they don't work for others. That's okay, that's life. That happens with pretty much anything. But the fact that you've tried it and you've tested it and you know it works for you, that means you can confidently post about it because you've got the proof to back up the fact it did work for you. Don't post about something that for the sake of it that is controversial, that you haven't tried and tested, because that may completely destroy your brand because you've basically given false information. If you're posting about something that's controversial, have the data to back it up. Otherwise, you are going to get torn to shreds. So if you can deal with a few comments that are going to disagree with you, do it. Controversy is a great way to get some conversation started. Just make sure you have thick skin and don't get easily offended by people telling you that you're actually wrong. Just tell them, look, this worked for me, it might not work for you. I've got the data to back up the fact that it worked for me. Try it. If it doesn't work, fair enough. But it works for me, so I'm going to carry on. Simple as that. So moving on to the penultimate tip of this episode, and that's to actually engage with other creators more often than you do at the moment. When it comes to engagement on Instagram, you cannot expect to get engagement on your post if you aren't willing to give it in the first place. This is how you build an audience that is engaged. You want to find people that engage with other people's content. Go on to the biggest creators and go into the comment section of these creators and literally go on every single profile that has commented on one of these creators and begin engaging with their content, because you know that they are frequent engagers because they engage with other creators, as you have just seen on that person that you have just scanned through the comment section. So if you then engage with their content, they're going to go, okay, who's this? Who's actually engaging with my content? Let's go over to their profile and see what they're talking about. And then they're going to engage with your content. You cannot expect to receive something if you don't give it in the first place. Especially when you're first starting, your engagement is key. Nobody knows who you are. The algorithm doesn't know who you are. So people aren't just going to stumble across your content. You have to seek out your audience. But if you're a frequent engager, it also works full circle, like I've just mentioned, because you have found other people that engage a lot. So if you engage a lot, people are going to engage with you because they want you to see their content and engage with them. I hope that makes sense. But it works. If you want to get more engagement on your content, you have to engage with others. That is one of the biggest ways. The other ways assist. This is how you get the ball rolling. Now, moving on to the final tip of the episode, and this is more or less a little bonus tip and something that I like to do that just encourages engagement and comments as soon as I post a piece of content. Now, when I post a piece of content, I will respond to the comments, but you can actually like comments. But I don't like comments as soon as they come through. Instead, I save that like for the following day when I post a new piece of content. So I'll post a new piece of content and straight away go to yesterday's post or my previous post and then like all the comments. Because when you like someone's comment, it pops up on their phone as a notification if they have that notification turned on. If they don't have the notifications turned on for that, it will still show up in their activity feed as that you like their comments. So you are becoming aware to that creator. So if they have got the actual notification on their home screen or their lock screen, it's likely that they're going to click through it to see why you've liked it, but then they're going to be on your profile and then they're going to see that you've actually posted a new piece of content. And if they've engaged with it yesterday, it's likely that they're going to engage again today or on your new piece of content, however often you may post. But it's a great little tactic to get those comments and engagement as soon as you post your piece of content. So don't like comments as soon as they come through. Instead, wait to like them and like them as soon as you post a new piece of content to make people aware of the fact that you have posted. And that wraps up today's video on how to get more comments on your Instagram posts. If you enjoyed, as you can see, I'm a very new creator here on YouTube, and I'd really appreciate if you hit that like button, that subscribe button, and turned on post notifications. That way you will never miss a video when I post every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. But if you did enjoy today's content, this is actually part of my podcast series, Social Media Marketing School, and I actually released this content a couple of days earlier on the audio version of the podcast. So that's available on Apple, Spotify, Google, you name it. I'll leave links to those in the description. So that is the place to be if you want to consume this content just a little bit earlier. So make sure you subscribe over there. The episodes are exactly the same every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Just I post 2 days later here on YouTube. But if you have made it to this point in the video, I just want to finish off by saying thank you all for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next one.